Hello, folks. Welcome to NB Geeks Let's Talk 10 Forward. And, folks, we're going to talk about the characters of Dune and how they related to the current movie. If my voice is a little strained, I'm sorry. I've been up for a long time, but that is irrelevant. I want to introduce my co host. And I am honored and humbled to have him come on my channel. He is the man who inspired me to even do YouTube. He is the one who taught me to have fun with it. He has been a friend, an inspiration, and a mentor in many ways. And without further ado, we are going to talk to Characters of Dune, and you are in for a treat because you are going to hear from Stone Loki! Valhalla forever!
Thank you, brother, for the intro. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I kind of go with that uh, with Jack Beers and AVP, but it's the truth. Loki, you inspired me to do this. There was that episode you did where you were like, anybody can do this. Just have fun with it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you were right. You really hit a chord with me. And I was like, and when I was at my lowest point, when I had my breakdown a little while back, and I got no problem telling people this. You like Purple Valkyrie and others. You guys pulled me from the precipice. And when I couldn't walk, you carried me. When I started to remember how to walk, y'all held my hand. When I could finally walk completely, you were still walking beside me. We have never met in person, but you have been a friend to me for a long time for those things. When you find out who your friends are, you find that out at your lowest point. So, mad respect for you, brother. Love you. Have nothing but. So, let's get past the sappy shit. Sorry. We Dune.
Dune.
I mean, really. I want to give you I want to explain my thoughts on Dune, the book, and my experience with it. And then I want to hear yours before we go into the characters and the portrayals of this current movie. I was 15 when I first read the book. And I'm going to be honest, I found it boring. I didn't understand it. It made no sense to me. Too much politics, too much bullshit. You fast forward to me being 30. I've been in the military now I've been in the military now 10 years, 11 years. I started following politics. I got with a group of folks and Dune came up. And I said, yeah, I didn't like it. And I'm like, sorry. They're like, I don't understand how you couldn't like it. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, it deals with politics and things you're interested in. How can you not like it? And I'm like, good point. I had about 2 or 3 people who I respected who, told me maybe you need to reread it now versus when they were like, when did you read it? I was like, well, I was 15 years old. And they were like, maybe you need to reread it now. You might have a different perspective. And all fucking God, after I read it that time, I just absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, like, it was just I was I understood it now. It made sense to me. It was unreal, and I was literally like, I was walking around, and I talked to my friends who were fans. I was like, "How the hell did I not get this?" So, that's my perspective on Dune. Loki, your perspective before we get into the characters.
I was 5. I was 5 and we went,
Really?
and yeah, I was 5 years old, and my parents, my aunt, my uncle, their kids, and somebody else, we all went. I think it may have been my brother. We all went and saw this in the theater. And of course, I'd never read the book, never didn't know what it was, but I
You're
remember,
referring to the '84 movie, right?
yes, the '84 movie,
Okay.
and I was told it was like Star Wars. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I thought the guns in this movie, in the original '84 movie, were cool. The sound guns, whoa, deep, and that's all I remember. But I remember nobody else liked it. I liked it because I thought the sound guns were cool, but nobody else liked it. Everybody thought it sucked. And I remember my dad saying something about the way they did the Baron was horrible. But anyway,
The Harkin Baron, right?
yes, the Harkonnen Baron,
Yeah, the
uh,
Harkin Baron.
and the way they did Fade and Raban, all of that. He didn't like any of that. Anyway, eventually I read the book and I got what Frank Herbert was trying to do. And I read Messiah, which is the book that comes after Dune. And I kept reading and I kept collecting. And eventually they came out. His son, along with Kevin J. Anderson, came out with more books and about the houses. And I like those books. Whether you like Kevin J. Anderson for what he did with Star Wars or not, I like the
I
books
do.
he did with Dune. So,
Yeah, I know J. Anderson very well. I do have his books. They're actually in the back of the Star Wars. I've read many of them. One of the things is once I was 15 then, I was 30 later. I've been in the military, I'd been working and understanding politics, and somehow it clicked with me. And the characters just are beautiful. And I want to start with the first character. You can pick the next one, but I really need to talk about my favorite character of the entire first book of Dune,
let me guess,
Duncan
Duncan,
Idaho.
Idaho. Ah, I knew
You
it. I
damn
knew it.
right, Duncan Idaho. Think of the name. It doesn't resonate a legendary man, a man of strength, a man of conviction. In the book, and how Jason Momoa pitched it. Did you know Jason Momoa did not audition for it? He was pitched it.
Yes. Yeah. There, there's
It
there's some
I can
stuff
believe
about
that.
there's some stuff about Duncan Idaho some people don't know unless you've read all the books and know the backstory on Duncan Idaho. He fits perfectly.
Yes, I will never be able to read Dune again without if I see Duncan Idaho or think of Duncan Idaho. If I go to a Comic Con and Jason Momoa is there, I'm going to ask him to just sign it Duncan, Idaho, because it's not a name you would think that would compare to a legendary warrior, a sword master. So with Duncan Idaho, in my interpretation of the book and the movie we saw, and I think Jason Momoa did it hands down. He is the only person of the '84 movie, sci-fi miniseries who has done Duncan, Idaho justice. Done my favorite character of the book right. I had someone, I was talking to someone, they were like, why is Duncan, Idaho and Paul Atreides this way versus, being with Gurney? Like I said, Duncan, Idaho is more the friend, brother to Paul Atreides, whereas Gurney Alec is more the experienced uncle. That is the way I've always translated. But I mean, for his time on this movie, oh my God, Jason Momoa did just justice. He, you know, he did it. I mean, the whole thing that they did right with this movie, Duncan Idaho and Gurney Alec, their loyalty to House Atreides, it is beyond reproach. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Duncan, Idaho, and the other advanced force that goes to Arrakis. Leto, who was, in my opinion, brilliantly done by Oscar Isaac. This is a man he's trusting. He's trusting him to find the Freeman and find peace. And he says, and I'm glad they didn't show it. He says, I tracked the Freeman for days. They were around me. I couldn't find them. They fight like demons. They tried to kill me. I've never come so close to dying. But you don't hear it as anger. You hear it as respect. And he spent 4 months with the Freeman. When the representative of the Freeman, or the leader, whatever you call him, when he spits, that to anybody else would be considered an insult. But Duncan, Idaho, recognized what happened and took the stage and is like, thank you for your gift of your moisture. We will return in kind. And he spits. And then Leto spits because Leto knows. Duncan, Idaho knows what he's talking about. I mean, talk about magnificent. Okay, I've talked enough about it. What was your thoughts on Jason Momoa as Duncan, Idaho?
I thought Jason did great. I thought he was perfect for the role. I thought he did absolutely wonderful. He knew what the part was. He understood what the part was. There are rhymes and reasons why Duncan, Idaho takes out 15 of the Emperor's Sardaukar terror troops before he gets.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We're gonna talk about that one.
So, as far as character goes, they really did Duncan well. And anytime I get to see Jason Momoa, I've been a Momoa fan since he was on Stargate Atlantis. So
yep, I remember.
I'm like an OG Momoa fan. I'm glad he's finally getting the attention he deserves. I thought his career was going to be over after Conan. I was really excited that he was going to be the next Conan. They did not do that movie well. They did not produce that movie well. They did not do his character well. Nothing about that movie was done well. So I was under the impression that he was going to be out. That was going to be it. And then he did Game of Thrones, and he talks about how when he did Game of Thrones, he was living in a van. He literally was living in a van because he could not afford to stay at a motel or a hotel. So he had this big van, and he had a mattress in it, and that's where he was living when he did the Game of Thrones season 1. So,
I saw the Conan movie and I was like, wow, what a disappointment. Not at Jason Momoa, the actor, the script, everything. You had a good concept, you had the right actor. You had the wrong writer, the wrong director, the wrong producer.
they should have
And
directly tied it to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Is what they
I
should have
would
done.
absolutely agree. I would absolutely agree. And I loved him in, Stargate Atlantis. One of my favorite scenes in Stargate Atlantis was when him and Teal'c
Yeah.
had their little, yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, how long have they been going at it? 3 hours. It's like, I laughed my ass off because I was watching, I knew Teal from SG1 and I knew, his character from that. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. And they would have kept going until the end because they would yield. I mean, if that's not inspiration, I mean, when we talk about Valhalla forever and we don't kneel, it was so interesting where you had Teal'c and his character from SG Atlantis, and damn, what was the terrorist name from Atlantis? I'm
Whose
drawing a
name?
blank. Yeah, Jason Momoa's character.
Oh,
What was his name?
Oh, damn it.
I'm drawing a blank. The point of the matter is they were the embodiment of true warriors. And even though it was a training exercise, you got to remember the look on their faces when Teal'c and him saw each other.
Ronan Dex.
Ronan Dex, thank you,
Ronan Dex.
Remember, they looked at each other and they had that stare down, and they both recognized they were warriors.
And isn't it interesting that you've got Jason Momoa playing someone like Duncan Idaho, and you've got Christopher Judge, the guy who played Teal'c, playing Kratos in God of War. Two absolutely exceptional warriors.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. And that was the thing. I remember when that Stargate Atlantis, and I have all Stargate Atlantis and Stargate SG1, but that scene with Jason Momoa as Ronan and Teal'c, and just the look, it's like you would look at it if you didn't know the show, you think they hate each other, but no, they're testing each other. They're trying to figure out, they are warriors. And when you look at Duncan Idaho, I mean, I remember when people were like, Duncan Idaho is a stupid name. I'm like, Duncan Idaho is one of the most noble names you will ever fucking hear.
You want to talk about talk about another character though, Gurney Halleck.
Yeah. Yes. Another. Yeah. Josh Brolin did a great job with that, and I was going to get into that, but you brought it up, so we'll go into it. Duncan Idaho and Gurney Halleck, their loyalty to House Atreides is beyond reproach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gurney Halleck was saved from the Harkonnen slave pits by Leto.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things they don't ever go into in this movie. Gurney Halleck, his sister was killed by Raban,
Mm-hmm.
the beast Raban.
Yeah.
He is a war master. He becomes a war master for House Atreides. A lot of their tactics that they use. Gurney and Duncan came up with. Very much a warrior poet, where Duncan is more of a fly in your face type of combatant. Gurney is very tactical. Very, very
Gurney is
tactical.
also very religious. He
Yeah,
goes through the Catholic Bible, or I'm sorry, I'm missing
they call it the Orange
the.
Bible.
Thank you, the Orange Bible. Thank you, the Orange Catholic Bible. And but the thing is, his quotes when he is doing the Orange Catholic Bible are poetic because he
Yeah,
puts them in the right moment. And
yeah.
Josh Brolin did that well. I remember, when we were watching the movie, or not you and me, but when I was watching the movie, when he is doing the War Master stuff and the training with Paul Atreides, and Paul is like, "I'm not in the mood," and Gurney is like, "What does the mood have to do with anything?" And I was like, "Oh God, that's Gurney. That is Gurney to a fault." And Gurney and Duncan, Idaho, hands down, their loyalty to the House Atreides is completely beyond reproach. They would never betray the family. And yeah, Josh Brolin did Gurney Alec very well. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. He did. Josh Brolin did great, as did Patrick Stewart before him. There's going to be a lot you're going to see, hopefully, with Gurney in if they when they get this second movie out. Hopefully, there's going to be a lot more you see of Gurney, and they're not just gonna keep him to the end. He is a warrior poet, in the truest sense of the word. He's a warrior poet, and he is very, very intelligent, and one of the very, very big resources of war that House Atreides has. One of the reasons why you hear a little bit about this when Leto tells Paul on Caladan we had air and sea power. Now we need desert power. Gurney and Duncan didn't just train the troops and set them up to be warriors. They used everything at their disposal to increase their advantage on their home turf. You see the ships rise out of the oceans. There's
Yes.
no way the Harkonnens or the Emperor know just how many ships the Atreides have. They have no idea about how big the army is, how big their fleet is, because they've hidden it under the ocean. They've used everything at their disposal to their advantage to prepare for any kind of attack from the Harkonnens, from anyone. That is one of the reasons why the Emperor fears them, and it agreed to do this with the Harkonnens. He set this up because he was afraid. He was afraid that Duke Leto was going to gain power and take over. He wants to be emperor. He wants his kids to be emperors and empresses, and that's what he wants. With the spice, they can extend their life hundreds of years, which the emperor has done. He doesn't want to give up power. He's had power too long. He doesn't want to give it up.
One of the things that was so interesting was the simple fact that Leto, and you transitioned into this, so we'll talk about Leto Atreides. He knew what was coming. He said it to Paul
Absolutely.
and told him, "Hey, the reason we're going to Arrakis and the Harkonnens are being taken out is because they are blood enemies, and this is the intention of the emperor to weaken both houses. And Leto played masterfully, in my opinion, uh, by Oscar Isaac. I mean, when I saw him in Deus Machina, I was like, this guy's great. And unfortunately, he was given shit in Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. But here he is. Damn the spice! I don't care about the spice. Run! Run! I mean, when he talks to his general, and his general wants to resign, he's like, they tried to take the life of my son! You're gonna leave me at my moment I need you the most? You want absolution? Go find the traitors. I got chills. I was just beyond moved. I was like, oh my God, they have really got this book right. They understood what they were doing. And Oscar Isaac played Leto damn near perfect. Because Leto was not stupid. Now, granted, he took the role to go over to Arrakis and do the spice, but he wanted to do it different from the Harkins, whereas the Harkins ruled in fear and did everything in fear. He wanted to work with the Freemen, and that's why he sent Duncan Idaho, his most trusted warrior, and he was his liaison. And when you had that scene, he's like, I can't guarantee we won't go over here, but your Siths are yours forever as long as I rule. And I was like, damn, that is Leto to a freaking T. Your thoughts?
No, I thought that Oscar Isaac played an excellent Duke Leto. There's a lot about Leto that people don't know. There's a lot about Leto that is not talked about in this movie because this movie isn't about Leto. It's about Paul. But Leto's relationship with Jessica, they did that very well. There is a moment that I missed that it's this moment he's talking to Jessica where he's talking about how he failed her. I failed you. And she's like, no, you haven't failed anybody. And he's like, no, I did because I should have married you. Damn it all, and I should have married you. The problem is that Leto was married or was going to be married to one of the ladies of Ix, and she got killed. And he didn't want to put her in that position, but he should have, because she should have been his wife. And that's going to come back to kind of bite them both in the ass later, because as we were talking about Gurney Halleck. There will be a moment where, and I hope they put this in the movie. I really do. I hope they don't cut this. There will be a moment where Gurney tries to kill her, because they are all under the impression...
The Lady Jessica, right?
Yes, the Lady Jessica. Yeah. Because they're all under the impression that the Lady Jessica is the traitor. That she betrayed House Atreides and gave it to the Harkonnen. I won't tell you why they all think that.
It was so like when the doctor showed up and it was like, the fucking traitor. I was like, I want to kill you. I was like, I knew what this guy would do. The lady, but we're not going to talk about that. The Lady Jessica is the embodiment of what a strong woman is. She feared nothing and embraced almost everything and defied her own order. But she only feared one thing, and that was the Reverend Mother. I mean, you see it in the scene with Paul having to put his hand in the box. And it flashes back and forth. It's absolutely beautiful to see her go, fear is a mind killer and thing. And she just, I mean, honestly, the only person she feared was the Reverend Mother. She had no other fear other than that. And she do, and I mean, when you're fearful and you defy your own order, whew. I mean, she, had a male son when she's supposed to only have girls. And it's like you thought you were going to bring about and you can help me with this, Loki, because I've not been able to translate it very well. The Messiah, the Bene
Kwisatz
Gesserits.
Haderach. The
Thank
Kwisatz
you.
Haderach.
Satellite, thank you. I haven't had much luck being able to say that. And when the Reverend is so much wasted on a male. And but you have the Lady Jessica. She is strong.
Well,
She is
they cut
powerful.
something. They cut something out of the movie,
I
and
know.
I knew they would. I knew they would do this. There is a what the Reverend Mother tells Paul after he puts his hand in the box. She
No
says,
woman has ever
"Yes,
done. Yeah,
no
I
woman
know.
child ever lasted that long with her hand in the box."
Well,
He
let's
could be.
segue into. Yeah, but you know, we'll get to Paul in a minute. But it was interesting when they were in the ship, and you know, one of the things I really liked in the movie was the um was the hand movement. The way it's like prepare for attack, do this, do that. And they were able to do it with hand gestures. But those hand gestures were unique only to House Atreides because nobody else understood them. And I was like, that's amazing. That is a great security from someone who's been in the military. That was literally like, oh shit, that is a great idea. And when she's talking about like, don't do it, and Paul does it, and when they pulled him, they made the mistake putting the gag on the Lady Jessica, but not Paul. And once Paul used the voice, the Lady Jessica just eviscerated those shitheads. And they even mentioned that the pilot was deaf to ensure he couldn't be influenced from Lady Jessica. Well, that didn't work out too well, did it?
Nope.
Now, I remember something. I'm going to transition here before we talk about Paul Atreides. I remember you saying something about the gender swap of a character and said that character was so spot on. I'd like you to expand on that if you don't mind.
What do you mean? What do you want me to expand on?
Well, you said there was a character, and it's been a while since I read the book, but you said there was a gender swap of a certain
Oh,
character.
Liet Kynes. Yeah, Liet Kynes. Okay, so Liet Kynes, and then this is the big problem with this. The Fremen would not be led by a woman. You can't be the leader of the Fremen. You can't be the leader of a Siege and be a woman. That's just the way their rules are. That's the way their culture is. You can call it sexist. You can call it whatever you want. But a woman cannot lead a Siege and cannot lead the Fremen people. That is the only problem I had with the gender swap of Liet Kynes. Liet Kynes is a surveyor that was sent by the Emperor to survey Arrakis and to survey the Fremen people. So they were sent by the Emperor. Now they eventually become the leader. Liet becomes the leader of all the Fremen, all the Sietches. Liet becomes the number one Fremen on Arrakis and rules the Fremen. What he says goes. They can change that character in a woman if they want to. They can change that character from a white guy to a black woman all they want to. The problem with that, the only problem with that in this movie is the Fremen are led by women, period. Women can be warriors. Women can be fighters. Women can be homemakers. Women cannot lead Sietches and they cannot lead the Fremen people. That's just the way it is.
I remember you saying, though, and it may not have been about that character, but you said there was a character that was gender swapped in a previous thing, and you said it didn't matter. Are we talking about the same character?
Yep, that's the same character.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
All that mattered in that situation was, and they did a really good job of her being exactly like he was in the book. The only problem is Fremen aren't led by women. Period. That's the way they are. They are based on a very Muslim society. That is
Agreed.
what the Fremen are based on.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That is how they are. Let's see what else. Yeah, we're getting close to an hour, and I'm tired. But what character would you like to talk about that really? How about the Harkons?
Oh, you want to talk about the Harkonnens, yeah?
Oh,
Shoot.
I want to talk about the Harkonnens because I remember watching the 84 and sci-fi miniseries, and when Baron Harkonnen would rise, it almost seemed comical. Whereas in this point, he was menacing. It was an establishment of power. I really thought Skarsgård did that. Oh, this is something I want to say. I wanted to do. Duncan, Idaho, folks, dies. Spoiler, but he dies taking out a ton of Skarsgård. So, Loki, if you don't mind, could you please explain what the Skarsgård are and why they were so feared?
The Harkonnen were savage. The Harkonnen were absolutely savage. There was not anything they wouldn't do when it comes to war. They were even accused of using nuclear weapons, which was a huge no-no. It was a huge no-no. You weren't supposed to use nuclear weapons. Basically, when Earth was ruined and they had to go out in the galaxy and find other planets, they took all the nukes and they split them up between the great houses. So all the great houses got a controlling factor of nuclear weapons to use in an emergency situation. Okay? These were to be kept by the houses and kept for emergency situations. The Harkonnens would do anything. They would use anything. Biological weapons, nuclear weapons, assassination. There was no depths the Harkonnens wouldn't sink to take out a target. When the Baron talks to Leto about revenge, they're actually talking about something called Canly, which is blood for blood. This blood for blood we've shared, what he is talking about is the revenge that each house has gone back and forth, because Baron Vladimir is responsible for the death of the woman. And I can't remember whether he married her or not at the time, but it was either going to be his wife or she was already his wife, and she was going to have a baby. And the Harkonnens killed her. And Leto, this set up this blood vendetta between the Baron and Leto, and it was never going to stop. And Leto knew that. Leto knew they would never be safe. They would never. This was never going to stop. The only thing that was keeping them at bay was they had no idea how many ships they had, where the ships would come from if they attacked. There was no way to know just how powerful the Atreides were, and the Harkonnens weren't going to take the risk, and the Emperor wasn't going to take the risk. That's why we talk about that land, the air and ocean power. That's why he wanted the Fremen. That's why Leto wanted the Fremen so bad. Is they had to have something to take out the Harkonnens and to be able to stand and fight the Emperor after that. The Harkonnens are the dogs at the gate. The Emperor is the master of those dogs. But at the end of the day, the Harkonnens are just dogs. Whether they realize it or not, they're just dogs for the Emperor. But they're nasty, evil fucking hellhounds that'll do anything and everything to win. That is why the Harkonnens are so dangerous. There are no depths they will not sink to take out a target. They will do anything to end you.
Agreed. And when you have a Skarsgård, which is basically the Emperor's personal guard, and they're the most fierce, ferocious.
Oh, the Sardaukar?
Yeah, Sardaukar.
Yes, the Sardaukar terror troops, they are basically born in hell, raised in hell, grow up in hell, fight in hell. Yes, they come from a hell world, a world of fire and death. The Sardaukar terror troops are the last thing you want to run into. But as you see in the movie, the weirding way, what Jessica and Gurney and Duncan have been teaching the Atreides, and yes, Jessica teaches them shit too.
Yep.
The weirding way is the new form of fighting, and that's what scares the shit out of the Emperor. That is why the Emperor finally decides to do something about the Atreides, is because of the weirding way and the new form of fighting. So one of the things that's cut out of this that you never see is the Emperor, and you never see the Emperor talking to the Spacing Guild and telling them, hey, they have a new form of fighting, and it scares the shit out of me. So we're going to take them out, and we're going to take them out now before they get any more powerful.
I think they did that because we're going to see that in the next movie or, subsequent movies. One of the things is that, Sardaukar, and this kind of goes back to Duncan Idaho, when he was there in the house with Paul and the Lady Jessica. When he realized and knew Leto was dead, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, he got on his knees and he said, "My Duke." Duncan Idaho was beyond reproach of loyalty. There was no way he would ever betray House Atreides. And the moment for me was, the salute. When he's like, Skarsgård, and he salutes Paul, his Duke, his brother, his best friend, and was going to go out knowing he was going to die. I mean, he maybe thought he might have a chance, but I don't believe that. He went out there knowing he was going to die, but he was going to die to protect his Duke, Not just his Duke, his brother, his best friend. And damn it if he didn't make, and he was going to make those Sardaukar earn that right. Sorry, I got a little excited there, but
Paul knew that was going to happen, and he told Duncan how he was going to die. He just got it
exactly.
mixed up. It wasn't during the expedition. It was after they got to Arrakis. So Paul was just wrong about when it was going to happen, but he knew what was going to happen. He saw it.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. But when he saluted, I still, every time I watch the movie, and I've watched it 4 times now, I get chills. I'm like, damn it. But if you're going to go out, take it out. Not, I did the math when I was watching it. In the book, it states he took out no less than 19 Skarsgård.
Sardaukar,
In the
yeah, the
movie,
Sardaukar.
he maybe took out 13. But still, these are the finest warriors, most unbelievable warriors. And he took them out. And he took several out after being injured. I mean, that's why I'm saying his loyalty was beyond reproach. Gurney Alex loyalty is beyond reproach. Leto, what he says, I don't give a damn about the spice. He wanted to do something different, but he was smart and knew that shit was going to hit the fan. And the whole point of the meeting on Arrakis was to create a war between him and the Harkonnens. And he was prepping Paul Atreides. And the other thing is, Paul, the guy who played Paul, and I don't know his name. I mean, you would say he looks like a soy boy, but man, did he bring his A game to that
The
role.
actor, the actor does,
Yes.
and he is very much. He is one of the same like little Hollywood groupies that Zedenya hangs out with. They're all in the same little camp. So yeah, he's one of those little soy boys. The actor.
Well, he may be a soy boy in real life, but he brought his A game to
He
the
did.
show.
He did. I was very curious how they were going to play this, and so far they have exceeded expectations. Hopefully, they will continue to exceed expectations, and they don't ruin this by changing the way the way the story ends.
One of the things I was worried about was he was going to come off as a soy boy, whiny little bitch who didn't want to do his duty or take the job. But when he had the scene with Oscar Isaac where he's like, questioning his worth, that's not soy boy. That is like, I don't know if I can live up to your expectations. And when Oscar Isaac, his character is like, if your answer is no, he told him it was okay. But everything this actor has done as Paul Atreides has been good. He's shown he's a warrior. He's shown he's intelligent. I had some people they were like, after House Atreides looks like it's fallen, and he's like, well, the Emperor has no sons and his daughters have married, and he's making a play for the throne. He, after losing his best friend, his father, he is still putting his family ahead of himself. It's not selfish. Some people say, well, he's playing the game, he's trying to be selfish. No. What this guy is doing is trying to ensure his family lives on. The legacy of his family lives on. What do you think, Loki?
I agree with you. I agree with you. Paul was young in the book, and then we get this older version in the '84 movie. This man, and that's not what this original story was. You have to understand that Paul is like almost like Space Jesus. Okay, and as Space Jesus, Paul is going to go into the desert and disappear for years. And no one's going to know he's alive. No one's going to know he's still around. No one's going to know him and his mother survived the attack with the Harkonnens. So Paul is going to be like Space Jesus. He's going to go out in the desert. He's going to disappear, and when he comes out of it, he's going to be a man. And I won't tell you anymore because I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. But yeah, anyway, that's the way the story's supposed to be.
When he sees the Reverend Mother, and that is the only time we've ever seen the Lady Jessica truly afraid. I mean, the acting was spot on, because that's the only time we ever see Lady Jessica afraid. But, and I said this earlier when we were talking about, I want to get in a little detail on it. When he puts his hand in that box, and when that actor does the look after doing the pain and trying to endure it and stops, his agony, and just looks at the Reverend, and the Reverend Mother takes a step back. I mean, she is shocked. She is shocked. And he is holding his hand and looking her dead in the eye. I was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous.
The movie is absolutely gorgeous. It is. There is no other grand spectacle this year. I don't think you're going to get anything as grand and as spectacular visually as this movie for the rest of this year. Nothing Marvel could come out with, nothing Disney could come out with, nothing anybody else could come out with. This year is going to be the grand spectacle of vision and sound. I mean, if you go into IMAX, this movie visually knocks you out, and so does the sound. It's absolutely kick-ass.
As I told you, Loki, I was gonna go see this movie this weekend in theater. Unfortunately, I broke my toe after having a fight with a washing machine and lost. But I am still determined to go see this in IMAX because I want to hear, I've watched it on HBO Max in my house about 4 times now. I'm like, I want them. Okay, here's a kicker. I want them to have my money. When was the last time you wanted to give a studio your money and your time?
Seeing this. As long as, like I said, always keep aware that at any moment in time they could absolutely screw you over and go in a completely another direction. This is just part 1 of this movie. We saw the same thing out of Warner Brothers when they did Long Halloween. The first movie was absolutely excellent, and the second movie fell off a fucking cliff. It was not Batman the Long Halloween. It was Catwoman saves Batman in the Long Halloween. And it was nothing like the book whatsoever. The second part, the first part, they kept everything, almost everything. The only thing that was bad about part 1 was at one point he says, I never wanted to be a detective, and that was complete bullshit. Batman's a detective, and he that's what he wanted to be. He wanted to be Batman. It's basically saying, like, I never wanted to be Batman. Oh, bullshit. It's who you are. As long as they keep a hold of what they did in this first movie, and they execute that properly in this coming movie, it'll be fine. If they make Paul a simp to Chani, if Chani becomes the Kwisatz Haderach out of nowhere, all they're going to do is piss off and alienate and kill all the goodwill they've gotten in this first movie. So as much
I
as
would
I
agree.
will, yes, I went and saw this movie multiple times. I'm going to be buying it on 4K. I want to see them stick the landing. Nobody is sticking the landing right now. Nobody. Everybody's fucking up the landing. I want to see them stick the landing, and I want this to be good. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with you. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't listen to rumors. I am going to wait. Look, the reason why I'm going to go see this movie, even though I think it's the best adaptation at the time, I was like, I've already seen two adaptations that I didn't feel lived up to it. And yeah, if Zoe Saldana becomes the Hobbit, you're gonna fuck it up. But and we're gonna end with this because we're getting on the hour mark. I, based on what we saw, I have faith. I believe we're gonna get a good second story. I really do believe that, and I'm hopeful. And that is not something I've said about a big budget movie in a long time. Look, I've seen a lot of low budget movies that I enjoy, and I'm going to do reviews on them. But big budget, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Dune puts Endgame to fucking shame. It was beautiful, and as long as they continue to do the beauty, the acting, the writing, the directing, the producing that they did with this first movie, we are going to be in for one hell of a treat. We've already been treated as something spectacular, and I understand where you're coming from. I know you're hesitant. Trust me, I'm hesitant because I agree with you. We've seen this before, the bait and switch, where we get a treat and then we get fucked. But I'm really hoping we don't get that in two.
I'll have to wait and
And
see.
yeah, with that, folks, we're gonna call it a day. Stone Loki, please let everybody who is here know what you got coming up before we call it.
Well, we've got a member stream coming up later today. The big thing, the big announcement this week is Mexican Iron and I are going to be doing a late show. Loki's
Nice.
late show on Friday at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you guys can make it, that'd be absolutely great.
Well, I'm a member, so I'll definitely try to make it. Folks, for those of you, I'm going to do a stream, or I'm going to put up stream. Sorry. I'm freaking tired as hell. I'm going to do a couple of streams on a few things. I'm going to talk about the trailer to Cowboy Bebop and my thoughts on it. And I'm going to do a stream on my thoughts on the teaser for Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus. And I'm going to give that out there. That'll probably be tomorrow because I've been up for almost 36 hours and I'm beat to all hell. But I wanted to be here because I wanted to talk about this with Loki. Because, folks, Loki has been an inspiration. He has been a mentor. But more than that, he's been my friend. And I thank you for that. And with that, folks, we are going to call it a day. You have a blessed one. Gonna do my outro, and you all have a wonderful evening, morning, and afternoon. Take care.